Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Elyachar, the chief content producer and writer of jakestake.com, a pop culture entertainment news website. I'm very excited to welcome this next guest. She is the CEO of Women in Power X. She's the host of the Alexis Rose Show. She has, as of this recording, on nearly 10,000 YouTube subscribers and 47,100 Instagram followers. Please help me welcome Alexa Rose Carlin to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome, Alexa. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to talk with me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so let's get started. So when did you get interested in entrepreneurship, and how did that passion evolve into desire to pursue a career in the business world?
So I started my first real business when I was 17 years old, when I was in high school. I mean, I dabbled in some things here and there, like a dog walking business, a handmade jewelry business. But my real business my first real business was when I was 17 years old, where I was school shopping with my mom and I saw this graphic tee that really stood out to me. And it was a picture of someone like holding up the peace sign, but the palm was the shape of Africa. And I read their hang tag and they were using fashion to build schools in Africa, make these villages self sustainable through education. I got super inspired by what they were doing. I was really passionate about the fashion industry at this time. And I pitched my idea to the company, any email I could find. This was back in 2009.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, I think actually my first email might have been end of 2008. And I was just like, I kept on following up until finally I got an email back and they wanted to set up a conference call with me and the founder. I don't know if she knew I was like still in high school. And I ended up selling her on my idea and I became the sole licensee to design jewelry for this LA-based fashion company. And that was my first real dive into entrepreneurship. And I just fell in love with turning an idea into a reality.
That's incredible. And I got to say, when I was in high school that time, I was focused on getting my Eagle Scout, 4-year class officership, so on and so forth. So good on you for starting your own business.
Thanks. Yeah, I was very into leadership and very into making a difference. It's been my mission since I can remember to make an impact and make a difference in at least one person's life a day. And so through that company, I found that my way of making an impact is through entrepreneurship because I donated a percentage of proceeds to help them with their mission of building schools and everything. And so since then, all of my businesses have been around a bigger mission.
And that's incredible. And it's always great to rally behind somebody that's supporting a bigger cause that's greater than themselves.
Yeah, definitely bigger than yourself.
Awesome. So let's talk about your company. So can you describe how you created your company, Women Empower X, to my audience?
Yeah, so I was just starting out speaking and I got into speaking because I had this crazy near death experience when I was 21 years old and it left me in a coma. It gave me a 1% chance to live and it changed my life not only from the trauma and having a near death experience and being in a coma for a long period of time, but afterwards I ended up being diagnosed with an autoimmune disease and that is chronic. It lives with me forever, and that's what led me to gaining the inspiration and really the passion to use my story to help others and also find reason, right? Why did this happen for me versus to me? And when I first started pitching myself to speak, when I was healthy enough to speak, at first it was just through live streaming on social media because I wasn't healthy enough to leave my apartment. But once I started getting healthier, I would pitch all of these different organizations and say I could speak for free and no one gave me an opportunity, and that's what led me to creating my own stage. I always say, right, no one gives you a stage, create your own. And that's the same thing. No one opens a door for you, build your own door. And so I started hosting small events under my blog at the time. And the first event, 5 people showed up, and I was like super excited. 5 people showed up that I could inspire with my story, and it grew organically. And then finally, people started asking me to speak at their events on their stages and platforms. And then through that journey, I saw a big need for diverse women, different ages, backgrounds, and industries to really connect and collaborate and also feel supported when they're being their authentic self, use their voice to make a difference. And that's what led me to starting Woman Empower X, which today is a very inclusive and diverse company focused on women's professional and personal development to really help them achieve their dreams and goals by using their authentic voice on different stages and platforms.
That's incredible. That is probably one of the best second chance life success stories I've ever heard.
Ah, thank you. Thank you
And
very much.
that's just amazing. And like I agree with you 1,000% of that. If someone doesn't give you a door, you build your own. And
Yeah.
I've been building my own for 11 years. I'm just grateful for it. Started just with a blog, and now it's evolved into the podcast to happen. So I'm very grateful to be connected with people like yourself and see how you guys have grown.
That's awesome. Yeah, I got to keep on going. And, there's not really a set timeline, but that's why it's so important to have passion in what you do and be resilient because there's so much rejection. There's so many missteps. There's so many times where you feel like you're moving a million steps backwards. And it's hard. It's really hard. But if you believe in what you're doing, then I believe that you can adapt, right, to all the things you cannot control and find a new way to make it happen for yourself.
And speaking of adapt, that bring perfectly segues into your book, Adaptable: How to Lead with Curiosity, Pivot with Purpose, and Thrive Through Change. Can you please describe the writing process to my audience?
So adaptable. I mean, I've always wanted to be an author since I can remember, since I'm a little girl. And adaptable was really um, like a beautiful project that came out of the pandemic, but it has nothing to do with the pandemic. It's all of my lessons and stories that I've experienced in the last decade of my life that have changed my entire life. And the writing process was very therapeutic, but it was well, here's why because I wrote from the experience versus from the memory. So throughout my entire journey from my trauma, my near death experience, my autoimmune, just all the different challenges and obstacles we all go through from family obstacles, friends, career, self, right? Self doubt, failure, all those emotions. I journaled throughout my entire life. And when I wrote this book and wrote certain chapters, I dove into those journals and really like they're so raw in the feelings that I had to bring myself back, which was hard, right? Especially for the going back to very, very traumatic times. But I did that because that's the way that I believe would be the most impactful for the reader to really feel the transformation. So every chapter is a story that's linked to a lesson that changed my entire life from resentment to FOMO, fear of missing out, to turning obstacles into opportunities, to confidence. I mean, there's so many different lessons, but they're all told in a very storytelling way.
That's incredible. And I think that's a great approach to that storytelling because it's very rare when I hear about focusing about the experience itself than through the emotions.
Yeah. It's hard. It's very hard to bring yourself back there, but emotions are so powerful. And I didn't want to be talking from someone that overcame the obstacle because I didn't overcome all these obstacles. I mean, you still go through family challenges. I still am living with my autoimmune disease. And that was kind of one of the reasons I wanted to become an author. One of the reasons I wanted to become a speaker was every time I saw people that I admired and, New York Times bestselling authors speak on stages. They all were very inspirational and educational, but they all followed a very similar format in the sense of here's what I went through, here's how I overcame it, and here's how you could do the same. And I always was sitting in the audience working to heal both my mind and body during this time of overcoming like post traumatic stress and all of that. And I would feel so like loss of hope because this autoimmune disease is nothing that I can actually fully overcome. And I was like, "Okay, well, if I can't overcome it, then your words, they don't resonate." And I feel like people wait so often to overcome their challenges and obstacles before they pursue the life that they desire and the life that they deserve. And I realized, like, we're always going to be waiting. I mean, we're waiting until this pandemic is over. We're waiting until we have more followers on social media. We're waiting until we land a big podcast guest to pitch ourselves to a new podcast guest. We're waiting until a publisher approaches us to write the book. We're waiting and waiting and waiting until we move to a new city, until we get into a relationship. There's always excuses and there's always challenges. And so I'm coming from the point of view where those obstacles are real. And no, not everything is your fault or can you control it, but you can control how you perceive it and you can control how you choose to adapt to it and find the opportunities through the obstacles. You don't have to wait to overcome something to be the person that you're meant to be.
Those are incredible words. And I've got to say, those you spoke directly to me with that statement. So
Glad to hear
thank
that.
you. Thank you. So Alexa, both of us are creators. Both of us have done a lot of incredible stuff from podcasting and blogs. So where do you see the creator economy going in the future?
Good question. So the creator economy is growing at a rapid pace, and I believe it's only going to grow. But there is going to be, in my opinion, a divide between influencers, creators, and thought leaders. And I think a lot of times people put them all into one category. And so the difference, creators could be anyone in the sense that's creating content. It could be someone that's creating content for another brand, another business. You're a creator. And then an influencer is someone that has influence through their own personal brand, but they are influencing their audience on different things, whether they're in a niche or not. It's more of, hey, I use this lip gloss, so I love it. And then the people, that are watching them are like, oh, let me go buy that lip gloss. Thought leaders, on the other hand, have the credibility and the know, like, and trust factor in their specific field, as well as the influence, the following. So if you look at like a medical doctor or a medical expert, they're an expert, right? But if they have a following on social media and a large audience, then they become a thought leader in the field of medicine. And so I think that people and brands are really going to see who is the right brand endorsement, who brands want to align with. And also, it's becoming more and more um, t- uh, brands are realizing that the creator economy is now the new way to advertise. I mean, it's not just influencer marketing. It's I get hired now all the time, and this is recent. In the past 6 months, I've seen such a rapid growth that people are now booking me to create videos that they can use for advertisement, and I don't even post it on my channels. So they're seeing that connection of user generated content in advertising because it works way better, especially if that person is a thought leader or a brand that people know, like, and trust.
Like, for example, I'm think when you said that, I gotta say that's very fascinating to hear that there's a three-way divide. Like, there's only a few people that can influence all three. I'm like, Oprah comes to mind as one,
Mhm.
and like Logan Paul, whether you like him or not, is another one. Of
Mhm.
like with different stuff, and because I study all their moves. So it's very interesting to hear about that. And like, I want to go back to a point about like having your content being displayed when not just social media, because your content has been featured on a lot of a plethora of media outlets. So just let you know, ABC, CBS, Cheddar TV, Oprah Winfrey Network, and TEDx. So what were some of the strategies that you implemented into getting those content being featured on those platforms?
So, my biggest strategy and the most effective one is public speaking. And when I say public speaking, it's publicly speaking on any platform, not just in person stages, as a lot, that usually comes to mind when you talk about public speaking. And so that has been the most powerful form of marketing for me and my business because it is the best way and the most powerful way to connect with your audience on a deeper level, create that credibility as a thought leader in your industry because you're now on stages and platforms, you have something to say, thoughts and ideas, you're influencing others. And then through that, I was able to rise above the noise where when I pitched the media, I had that credibility factor that people then wanted to hear my thoughts and opinions on certain topics. And so it's a mix of really effectively positioning your brand online in order to get booked to speak and then use speaking to then scale your business by pitching yourself to the media or then the media even just starts to find you. Of course, I'm a big advocate on like not waiting until they find you, like go out and pitch yourself, which I did for years. I'm grateful now where the work that I'm doing is getting noticed where they'll come and say, hey, can we interview you on this topic? But that took years of pitching and then also continuously putting myself out there. You have to really show up. You have to show up on video and you have to use your voice to connect versus, just pictures or dancing stuff. Like that's all great. But if you really want to get, picked up in the press, you have to have something meaningful to say.
I totally agree, and that's why I rarely post stuff on social media except for like what my interviews are, or if there's or is there a flashback Friday regarding somebody who I met that's been like a celebrity that's been in pop culture or it's a current talking point. And also, I got to say, like I'm very grateful that like I've started out with my interviews back in 2011, and then all of a sudden, recently, the biggest one to date on my podcast is Howie Mandel, and I
Nice.
did that in for Candace Got Talent, and like I never thought in a million years that my work would actually made him lead to him. And also, all of a sudden, I'm getting all these different podcast interview guests, and it's just very interesting to see that's wow, my work is paying off.
And you're speaking. That's exactly right. You're using your voice, speaking on this platform to grow. And it's a whole like speaking is so powerful because it's you can see I'm very passionate about it, but it's momentum. Like that's the key. When you speak on one stage or platform, then the next one comes, the next one comes. And you'll see because you got Howie Mandel and you spoke with him and had a conversation publicly, public speaking, you're going to be able to use that credibility factor to continue to get very influential people on your podcast. But that only happened because you are out there sharing with your voice.
Thank you so much, and I'm very impressed, Alexa, because you use your voice for a whole lot of good.
Thank you.
Okay, so we got to talk about one of those platforms that you use your voice on is social media. So, what are some of your favorite social media apps?
TikTok is definitely my favorite. I've been a fan of TikTok since early in the pandemic when I really started to create a lot of content on there. And they've just been such a great company to work with as well. Uh, so I love TikTok, and I think it's still the best platform right now for virality, for a chance of virality, organic, and as well as reaching a new audience. And Instagram is kind of catching up with Reels, but I just see like Instagram mostly I'm reaching my current audience versus TikTok I'm always reaching a new audience within my niche. And YouTube, I mean YouTube's kind of like the golden standard and so I love YouTube as well. But I think regarding social media, for anyone listening to this, like it's really about what you enjoy because you can find success on any platform that has an audience and hopefully your target audience based on your business or your brand. But I always tell my students that I coach and help them grow their business and brand that it's less about what platform you need to be on and more where is your target audience hanging out, and two, what do you enjoy? Because if you don't enjoy TikTok, then you're never going to stay consistent with it because consistency is key. So you really have to enjoy the platform that you're working on as well.
I love Instagram, and try and post at least a story once or twice a day or three times a day, including my work. But also, like for example, I'm a little nervous when it comes to using TikTok because I'm worried I will get sucked down a rabbit hole. So, So do you have any advice on like for creators about how to use TikTok, like how to use TikTok efficiently without going down the rabbit hole?
Yeah, so TikTok, the best way to grow on TikTok is to start producing content solely within your niche. Like get super super specific on what you want to be known for and do not go out of that. So for example, if you like have a business or want to grow in like the finance sector, don't just talk about all different things of finance. Either talk about cryptocurrency or talk about personal finance and only talk about that or only produce videos around that. Don't just like randomly go show your dog or jump on a trend and not make it niche specific. Because what happens with the algorithm is that TikTok will start to learn about your content. And then it will shoot out your video to a small group of people that have liked or engaged or watched fully videos that are within that same realm, that same niche. And because it's shooting out to people that already like finance videos, they're going to like it. They're going to engage. They're going to watch it till the end. That tells TikTok people are liking it. And then it shoots out to a bigger pool of people and it continues that. But if all of a sudden you post videos that are not within that specific niche, then TikTok doesn't know like what videos you're posting. And they may send your dog video or your kid video to this group of business people. And they're like, I don't care about that. And they swipe up. So then it starts to decrease. So that would be my biggest advice if you want to learn how to grow on TikTok.
Awesome. So, ready for your last question?
Yeah.
Where can my audience find your book? Where can they see you? And where can they connect with you on social media?
Definitely. So you can find Adaptable at any bookstore, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, your local bookstore, online. It's all over. Definitely, so appreciate you grabbing a copy. And there's also like a lot of different powerful quotes throughout the book. So love seeing people post stories while they're reading it. And connect with me on social media: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at Alexa Rose Carlin.
Awesome. So, guys, if you missed an episode of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar podcast, visit our channels on Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Spotify, and Spreaker. It's Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar, JACOB ELYACHAR. Now, are you on social media? Because I'm on social media too. Visit my channels on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Jacob Elyachar, JACOB ELYACHAR. So, Alexa, get this. In August 2022, I'm celebrating my 11th anniversary of jakes-take.com.
Amazing. Congrats.
Thank you so much. It's amazing to be in this, doing this whole thing for a whole 11 years.
Yeah, and keep it up.
Thank you so much. Now, guys, if you want to see more interviews, more reviews on music, find out what's going on with The Masked Singer or America's Got Talent, head to jakes-take.com. And guys, if you're financially able to, please consider heading to PayPal to help keep the Jake's Take brand up and running. And I'm a one-man band, so I book all the interviews, schedule all the conversations, and not to mention edit the audio and the video. So thank you. And if you're able to, I would be eternally grateful. But if not, a great alternative is subscribing to the podcast and also subscribing to my social media channels. Alexa, thank you so much for this incredible conversation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Alrighty, guys, until next time, thank you so much for watching and thank you so much for listening. Have a great one, everybody. Goodbye.